Okay, so I'm back as promised, showing you how to get fancy with Noomu. In the previous video, I showed you how you can just put the HTML in quickly, have it going, but I also promised to show you how you can make some of these elements and stuff yourself in Noomu if you prefer. So I showed you this example the other day. We also have this client page who they put together an article and wondered how they could incorporate it into their site as well. So I wanted to show you how to do kind of some of these call outs and things. And you can see that the content is nicely laid out. And we'll do a few of these elements. And if there's something you would like to see done in a future video, or you have a mock-up or something, let me know. And I could probably do that in a future video. All right, so let's go back to the original here. And so we have this kind of box here at the top. Now, you have a couple options here if you wanted to build it and you had ChatGPT make this image, like this background for you. You can just use the HTML they give you, but you could ask, if it does a layout, say, I just need this image background, for example. But if you want to make something like this, you can simply use our columns features. So now I have a blank page I can work with, and we have a column here. And in this case, we might want it to be a little narrower. If we did, we could also increase the number of columns. To increase the number of columns, so I clicked on where it says column, and then I have this, and I could put 3 and making sure they're roughly the same here. They're both at %. Okay, so now I have this inside column, and I can color this in. So I can go here, you can do a background color, and I'm just gonna go ahead and do that, right? And you could add a gradient. So this would, you could see as it's happening behind here, and we can kind of change. So you could have some color there and do something similar if you would like. So it's not the same, but as I said, you could ask ChatGPT to give you that image or create a background image for you. And then all you do is you change background and you would upload the image and you'll have that same thing. Now, this is a completely workable place that you can do stuff with. This one had rounded edges. So if you like rounded edges, you can do the same thing. We click on the column settings here and we go to border and we can add a radius. So now it becomes rounded. We can also add a shadow if we wanted. I'll make it a darker color so we can see what that looks like. That's kind of ugly. Outer shadow looks kind of nicer, gives it like a different 3D effect in this case. And then you can add text on top of all of this. So you would just go text, your text box goes here, and you can, don't worry about it shrinking like that. That's not a big deal. So we probably want white text. Maybe we wanted it to be bigger, whatever you would like to write here. I'm not going to go and duplicate the whole article or we could be here for a long time. So now I have something like this and I can very easily, in the case of columns, okay, and I can very easily put some space between there. So now we want more space up and down. And if we wanted also to bring the text in so it's not going to the end, we can also line it up like that. And now we want to have space on the top and bottom. And in many cases, you can drag things around if you want to take up more space. But in the case of columns, you do need to use a spacer. So I'll put a spacer up top. And then we can drag that to wherever we want. And then we probably want a spacer on the bottom. And again, we can drag it however we like. So now we have this little box there that we can do stuff with. And maybe, okay, let's also look at this image. And then we have a box on top of it. Like, how does that work? So we're going to add our image. Oops, okay. Now we want to add a new block because this is a whole entire block. And if I put stuff in, it'll come into here unless I want to add a row here. You can actually add a row of columns or you can add a block. Blocks are a great way to organize stuff because you can move things around between pages, especially when you reuse them. So it doesn't really matter how you do it. I'm going to add an empty block. And don't forget, when you want to add I'm going to go down here and I'm going to add empty block. But while I'm here, I want to show you is don't forget, we also have all these layouts here just ready and waiting for you to do something with. Even here, all this stuff can be colored too. So it's very neutral, but I just showed you how to color. You don't have to add the gradient. You could just have colors there and make it look quite nice. But there's tons of different layouts that you can add and do things with. So I'm just going to add an empty block since we're working from scratch. So I'm going to add this image in that we had. Here we go. And now that's one column here. And all I have to do to make the image bigger is just drag it down. We have options of shadow here if we would like. Usually it has to be a bit darker to be noticeable. And there's more settings that you can do to change the setting. But we're just going to go with the default from now. And of course, don't forget to add your image descriptions because it's good for people with visual disabilities. And also it helps your search engine rankings and helps search engines understand what's happening on the page. So now we have that. So how are we going to, again, get this box up on top of here? So what we would do here is we would add a column. And we probably just want to move that to the top. And now we have another column down here. So it's a box and it's got a shading on it. I am going to maybe add 3 columns so I can make it the size I want it. We're just going to leave it like that. Maybe I will do a maybe slightly different background color you could do, or actually that's pretty dark still. So we did want the border radius on this, so it's a little rounded. And then we can do the shadow, because I think that one had a little bit of shadow, and obviously your kin, and that's the same color, so we do want it to be darker. We have an outer shadow on it now. Okay, and so we would add our text. I'll just copy and paste it over here. Add a text box, and we can move this text over. We can again add spacers to line it up a little bit better. Now, it's pretty rounded, but let's not worry about that. All you would have to do is adjust the radius. But what I want to show you here is how you make it overlap the image. So you go to column and you're going to go top column margin and you're going to bring it down. And now it's above there. So I won't add the spacer. I will just continue on, but I already demonstrated that, so you know how you could just add the widget. Okay, so let's go over to the client page. And what I'd really like to show you is making something that is like this, maybe that you can call out stuff. It's not going to look exactly the same unless you use the HTML, which you can. But you can do things like this. Let's actually look at this one that has the 3 boxes. You can very easily do this. So what's required here is that we need a block to work in. Let's just make one. I always find having new sections to work on your different blocks is good. It just helps you keep organized. It helps you copy and paste stuff. And also, if you ever want to create navigation on the page, like where an anchor point, as they call it, that helps too. So using new blocks helps you keep very organized. Okay, so yeah, so what we can see here is that this is actually 5 columns when we milk it. It's obviously the 3 boxes, and then in between there is space. So how we would do that here is we would, again, make a new block. And now we have 1 column here. We need to change it to 5. And so this column will be a box, this column will be a box, this column will be a box. I will organize those first before we kind of space things out. So looking back here, it looks actually like they're fairly plain boxes. They just have a very thin border. So maybe some of them you might want shadows and stuff like that. That I've showed you how to do that. But let's just go ahead and do this. So we want column. We'll need to go to the border. And then we just probably want a really thin border. And then we want to round the corners out. So we're using 18 pixel border radius, 1 pixel border size. That's the default. Then we'll go and do that here as well. We want 1. And we're going to go 18. And then we're going to go here as well. And then you would proceed to put your text in and all that into those. And so you also want to line them up so they'll be across the page. That one's 29%, so we'll make it a little smaller, hoping that my guesswork is good. Yeah, so we probably want, so we're going to line them up, guessing maybe 32%, and then that way, and then hopefully that way it'll be about even. All right. So that's roughly even. And then you would add your text in and you have these call out boxes. You can also, once you've made something like this, say you're going to reuse this a lot, you would just go copy widget, which I showed you before. But now you go here and you can save this. So we could say 3 call out boxes. So anytime we wanted to use it again, we would just go here, go to our save things, and we could add that block anywhere. Even if you have more than one website, it's in the same project, it's across your projects that you can add this. Now, what happens if you're doing something and you can't quite figure it out in Noomu, and that's okay, right? It is nice to build it so that you can keep reusing it, and you also can edit the text easily if you're using HTML blocks. So you have to go and edit the code. But sometimes that is good when you need to have something in a hurry. So let's just say you're not sure how you could do something like this and you want this part. So I will just take a screenshot of what I've got. Say you're looking at a layout on a page and you're like, I really want this. And you can go over to ChatGPT or your whatever AI tool you like to use. And you would say, can you give me this in HTML so I can insert it in my site? Okay, so now that's if you already had something that you were building and you like maybe had asked ChatGPT to help you before, but you just want that one snippet. This will make it easy for you to go back. We'll add a new block. We'll add a widget left here, and we're going to turn in the very bottom part where it says other, we'll get code. And now we have that exact thing, and it's not an image anymore, right? It is actual text that search engines can read, and it's part of the page. Or what if you don't have an example, but you could tell ChatGPT something like a 3-block layout where I can call out different, so it would be 3 boxes. I would like the boxes to have a dark blue background with a yellow border, and I like here, this is just an example, but we just throw in 3 things, icon that represents it, and then a title and a little description. I'm just doing this as a demo for our new users, so you can fill in whatever text that normally you know what. You can also have it, right? You would just, you already have the content, you can give it the content. Say, I'd really like a nice layout. Give it a screenshot of what your template looks like, your colors, so it knows. But let's see what happens when we do this. I'm not going to criticize its work. We're just going to roll with it. If you don't like what it says, you're going to give it some more direction. All right, so I'm going to just save this. Sometimes when you add the HTML, the block takes up more space, and I'm just going to refresh there. Okay, so now we got to add another HTML widget in our add widget code. And we're going to put this in. We're going to see how it did. It looks pretty nice, right? I'm not a big fan of this checkbox. It caught my attention right away. So there you go. You've got something pretty freaking awesome, right? That you can do very quickly. You can build yourself. You can do that. The thing about this is that you'll have to edit the code, right? When you want to edit it, you might need to go back to Chat. Or if you can also find and learn a little bit about HTML code, but you could see the text is this lighter color. The rest is there, and you can do Control F to find the certain words here. If I'm looking for the text, add a short, it finds it for me, and all you have to do is change the text. And it's fairly simple to just update as you need. So what I said also about showing it an article, I may as well do that and round this out. I know I said everything was from scratch here, but I also want to remind you that it's really easy to get really nice layouts of what you want. So I'm going to grab an article that I already have and I'm going to show how to do this. Okay, so I have my article ready here, but I'm going to just make a new page. Okay, so now we have a plain page. We can preview it here and we'll take a screenshot of this. And I'm going to tell ChatGPT, okay, I would like you to format this article really nicely so I can put it on my website. A screenshot of the template is a you can also ask it to help you create that article, right? But you have your own and you could still make it pretty. So there we go. And obviously, you could tell it more specific things. Maybe you want it to call out certain statistics or different things. I'm going to just let it run with it and we'll see what happens. I do think being more specific is good, especially if you don't know HTML, because editing it after might be a little harder and it wastes fewer resources if we get it right the first time. So it's all finished. Add the code, and there we go. And now we have something here. We can also move this up. I don't think we need the extra. And now you have a beautiful thing you can add. So clearly now, I know we could do images, and I showed that in the last video. You would just upload your images, get the link to the image, and give ChatGPT that URL to your image, which it will need in order for it to be seen on the internet. So I did show that at the beginning of the last video. I'll link to it for you. If you have any questions, let me know. Such easy ways for you to become a pretty awesome designer fairly easily and quickly. Let me know how I can help.